Okay, so I must say I'm a techie geek guy. I'm not a media person, and we have a passion for technology and especially for cryptography. So the last few days have been crazy. About 3 o'clock on Friday, just the normal sort of office thing, and then my phone went red hot. I think I ended up blocking when you see caller ID not present, then you know it's the BBC or you know it's Sky or something. Oh no. So everybody else uses WhatsApp. Very few people use I don't know if I'm the same, but I just use WhatsApp all the time to speak to my family and so on. So I hear a bing and then I do something. So it's very strange to actually get calls. And it's really, that's really sad, isn't it? So it's very unusual, but my phone went red hot and it just hit marking time too. So half the time I was sort of doing interviews for radio, trying to explain the technology, not trying to say that somebody had done anything wrong here, but explain that really there's a bit of tech behind that and we're all human and these things happen and we learn and so on. So I hope I never came across as doing anything that was wrong to anybody. I think we need a lot more money in healthcare services. We need new healthcare services, but a core part of that we've found is to make sure that they're secure and trustworthy. So that's our kind of message from it, and I think it's up to technologists to really articulate that much better. But the minute the media is away, we'll burrow back into NCASE and digital forensics and Python code and stuff like that. That's where we are, and that's where we like to be. So I was going to do a bit of insider threat, but let's just do some ransomware, and I'll try and explain. You're probably sick to the back teeth of hearing this, and I know you are because the BBC doesn't call me anymore. So they've kind of lost that. So they've all run away. There's a kind of other thing going on, the election and other things. But it was really interesting. It was just like Heartbleed. IT, people will talk to you in the pub. If you're an IT specialist, you know a bit about crypto. Come on, I'll buy you a pint. It's okay. Well, it all started with Bob and Alice. So it was really interesting. And when things like this happen, we should make the most of it. Because it's really important to articulate the technology and not to go down the routes of the politicians who tend to know very little about these things. I was down at the House of Commons recently explaining that if I'm a terrorist, I'm going to be using Tor and crypto, I'm going to be using USP sticks and VPNs, and just went right over their heads and stuff like that. Let's just go ahead and log every single packet, every single access to the internet. And you go, wow. So I think there needs to be a lot more understanding of cryptography, as we've seen from Stephen's talk there. So I'm going to give you a bit of boring background into ransomware, and I'm going to try and show that this ransomware that we've just seen wasn't actually very good. Okay, that might surprise you. This was a pretty rubbish piece of malware, and really the attack vector was so unbelievably weak that we should be worried about much more sophisticated things. Okay, so we're starting to see that it's hitting the headlines much more. 752% is a lot. That's times 7 increase in ransomware. So it's hitting the headlines much more, and we see this chap here was arrested, a criminal gang, and the police in the UK closed down the Zeus botnet. So there is a coordinated action. The problem that you've got is the internet is meant to be free. It's meant to be free to use and nobody controls it. So should you shut down a botnet? Should you shut down Tor networks? Have you got the rights to do that? Should cyber criminals have the rights to use the internet as much as anyone? So it's a very difficult task, but the police have generally been looking at shutting down these botnets, which are a command and control center for the infrastructure. If you look at the trend's kind of worrying. That was 2015, the number of families that were found, and this was basically 2016. I don't have any stats as to what happened after that. That's the most up to date, but it kind of goes like that. If not that, that's exponential. And now there's money to be made, then there'll be a whole lot of people weaponizing. I kept going on about weaponizing, and I kept thinking of the Lockheed Martin model when I was going through the media. Normally the media, the first few interviews that you have, you just cope with it, and you say the same old stuff. Don't click on phishing emails and stuff like that. You don't do what Dido did. You don't say, oh, well, it's okay, you'll get an email from us, and it will have our header there, and the link will look like it's came from TalkTalk. Okay, so we're kind of wise to that you shouldn't go on and say certain things. So as I went through, the word weaponization came through a lot, and it seemed to make sense. There's this weaponization phase. We had 6 weeks between the announcement of the vulnerability and the weaponization, and we still got caught out. So do people pay? Yes, of course they do. Your PhD thesis is to be submitted next week, and you haven't put it in Dropbox. In fact, the Dropbox version's been locked, and Dropbox doesn't back up your different versions and so on. So of course you're going to do it. If you're the NHS, of course you're not going to pay it. That would be embarrassing. If you're a small business in Scotland, a hairdresser in Glasgow, you're going to pay it because it's your customers' details that are on there. And do you get your data back? Oh dear. Only 20%, the 20% here didn't pay, the 1 in 5 paid the ransom, but didn't actually get their data back. And so if anybody's got WannaCrypt, you will not get your data back. It's not working, it's broken. And I'll explain in a little minute. Only 35% don't actually pay the ransom. Who are they? They're the banks, they're the health boards, they're the big companies. They don't have to pay because they've got backups. So the statistics are there. So I'll give you a quick, sorry for the unfortunate graphic if anybody's scared of that. That's the SAW one. It wasn't a big piece of malware, but my God, it had great impact. That's great graphics. I'm really surprised they haven't brought a logo out for WannaCry. Well, it's a bit disappointing. Heartbleed was a great one. Poodle was really quite bad. Poodle, oh, lovely. Heartbleed, oh. So that's the evolution that we've seen from about 2005 right to the present day. We can actually see the massive increase in families of malware. And this is where it's generally went. So the really unfortunate things, Chimera was a doxing. It got onto a teenager's computer and would actually say, we'll distribute these images if you don't pay the ransom. And as Eamon knows, that can lead to people committing suicide. A teenager, I think in Fife, did that. It can also lead to unfortunate things. One of the ones there shows a message that you've been bad and the police have got your IP address. If you don't pay the ransom, then we'll come and investigate you. It's nothing to do with the police, but some people will see that as a valid message. So we generally moved on from there. This one here, CryptoWall, made this author $325 million. So there's a little devil that sits on your shoulder as a software developer and a security person and a little angel. You go, no, ethical. And the little devil, 325 million, that's a lot. You have the skills to get out there and do it. No, don't do it. So there's that dilemma. I hope that bit's going to be cut, by the way, from the from the thing. We've all been there. We're all human. If there's one person here that doesn't say 325 million, it's not too bad. If I could make that quickly and be on a plane somewhere and not damage anybody, not do anything bad, then we've all been there. We're all human. Money is the great motivator in life, like it or not. So it's generally evolved. When the first JavaScript ransom was there, Lockheed targeted healthcare, and we've now got worms back again. We thought we'd got rid of worms in security, but they're back. Oh goodness, better get the old textbooks out. And nothing can hide from it. This is a GitHub. The source code is now on GitHub. It goes there quickly, so you can't trample it anymore. It's on GitHub. If anybody wants it, Python code is there, Java code, C++, whatever. It's distributable. So what are the types? Well, the main types, and they've generally moved through web server encrypting, master boot record. They don't really like to do that very much because they lock the computer. So typically it will be this type here, where we have a ransomware and we use an encryption key to be able to decrypt the files. And so this is one of the earlier ones, and who hasn't had that message? Just me. Oh, sorry. So this message is if you go to a dodgy site, there's a good chance that this comes up. And this will be customized to whatever region of the world that you're in. So if you're in Germany, it will show the German police called, or Poland, and it'll be customized from there. And one chap in England thought this was real, and he committed suicide. So it has unfortunate effects to it. He was so worried his parents would find out that the cops would go after him, that he committed suicide. So it does have an effect, and it's not just financial. What are some of the ransoms that are paid? Well, we kind of stop about 35k, but at one presentation I was at, there is some serious ransoms being paid, but they're not public. That's right? Big.
I think it could be fair to say that about 8 to 10% of that has been reported, and if you can imagine some of the global companies who, yes, will be paying significant amount of money.
Okay, so most of it is up to 350, right up to 35k, and so on. But there is big ones. I think Disney got hit over the weekend there. That's a big corporation. If you get some really sensitive documents to do with IP, then you could be in serious trouble from that. Okay, so this is how it works. A bit complex there, but the criminal as a service provider. A criminal service provider, isn't that wonderful? Somebody to look after the crime for you in the dark web. Isn't that nice? 24/7 support, patch updates, so no problem. If McAfee patch, we have a whole support network there for you. They then have a distributor, typically phishing. It's then distributed. It searches for files on the computers. It creates an encryption key. I hope you're all listening to this because I'll be asking questions. Right. It creates an encryption key which is unique and never been used before in the whole world. And then it takes the public key of the command and control center and encrypts that, sends it back to the command and control, and then only the private key of the command and control will decrypt it. Did everybody get that? Did everybody? No? Okay. That's how it works, okay? That's how crypto works. So that's what happens. So what you get all your files encrypted, and then you've got to go to your command and control center to get the keys back again, hopefully. And hopefully they can actually do that for you. So early ransoms looked like that, and they were really quite funny. Okay. Saying they had used RSA encryption and so on. So this was the GP code malware. And then they got a bit more sophisticated because they had a webcam. They have a webcam that will contact and say, go to the command and control, and you'll be talked through with an operator about how to decrypt the files. Because that's the problem they've got. Most people wouldn't know how to use a Tor browser and pay a Bitcoin. So this guy here, remotely, live, you will talk to an operator who will tell you how to pay your Bitcoins and pass the key. Does anybody here? No? It's not really a big thing, I think, in the UK to be a support operator for a ransomware network. It's not the kind of thing you put in your CV. Could you come along for an interview? You've got a good manner. Could you talk people through? decrypting the NHS's data? No. So they have full support there for that, and it just seems unbelievable. And you can get it, Achtung, you get it customized for whatever place. It's quite funny, if you do use the Tor browser, the message will come up in German or whatever, because it looks like your Tor browser is coming from Germany, but it will generally customize based on wherever you actually are in there. So Cryptolocker, you got that, okay, and that was quite scary. And basically Cryptolocker, as we said, was to do with this public key encryption. We create a key, we use the public key to encrypt, and we use the private key on the server to decrypt. But they became a lot smarter, and they didn't have to contact the command and control anymore, because the security engineers knew there was this dial back to command and control. They knew where the command and control was, and they stopped that. Now, they don't have to do that. They will have the whole package and the whole encryption, and you'll just get sent a little code to say that's what you put in, and it'll decrypt. No callback at all. CryptoWall was a whole crime as a service. It had delivery, infection, network control, and it has the whole back end accounting for you. So if you want to be GDPR ready, then make sure your ransomware provider is GDPR ready, only if they exist in the EU. I don't know if the dark web exists in the EU, so just watch that you're complying. All your customer data should be encrypted, just in case anyone comes to see you. So CryptoWall 3 was the whole deal, the whole crime as a service in there. Okay, that's what the files look like in there, and that's what the extensions look like. So we had then the concept of ransomware as a service, or TOCS, and basically it was found on the dark web that there was all these companies who were creating ransomware for a fee, complete control, where we have a console that we log into, and it defines how you want to attack, what the target market, what your demographic is for you, which is basically everybody, whoever's got money. Do you know what the Sunday Mail published? 300 bitcoins was the ransom, and they had to redact that. I don't know if you've seen 300 bitcoins, but that's a lot of money. The fee was about 0.17 bitcoins. One bitcoin is worth £1,700 or so. So this will give you a complete campaign, your marketing and so on, and it'll actually tell you where you are. There you go, this is 3 days into your campaign, and your final destination is to reach this amount of bitcoins, and that's quite worrying that we have that level of crime now. Okay, so that eventually everybody with a Mac said, go away Windows. I got a Mac, I'm okay. I've got a Linux box, that's for our students of course, not for the whole world. And then everybody said, oh, we're okay if we're not running Windows. Well, this guy came along, Ransom32, and it did it in JavaScript, because the world is going towards a browser. All the malware existed in the JavaScript on the browser, and you were kind of stuck. So you couldn't run from it if you had an Android phone or a Mac or an iPhone. JavaScript was now the main vehicle. And these were quite sophisticated bits of ransomware. Okay, if you were interested, that's what it looks like. That's what you get delivered. It looks a bit boring, but that's the payload of that ransomware. That's what you get as a zip file. That gets distributed. You'll notice things like a VB script in there to do the nasty stuff. But it's all self-contained in the malware that then gets distributed, and typically through a Flash Adobe reader. Adobe accounts for about half of all the vulnerabilities. Java and Microsoft Silverlight account for most of the other parts. So please patch your system against those vulnerabilities. Okay, so there's a whole lot of nastiness in there, but you'll actually find there's typically this old Visual Basic script. And it's a kind of workhorse of the ransomware industry. It'll do whatever you want. It'll delete every file on the system, and it's about 10 lines of horrible code, but it still exists, and it still does so much damage. Okay, so that's how it looks there. It doesn't want your computer to crash, because you can't pay any bitcoins. Say, oh, my computer's crashed, I'll go and use someone else's. It's a bit embarrassing, okay, to be infected by ransomware. You go on there. So it goes after the files that are most interesting to you, your images, your documents, your PowerPoint, and it keeps away from all the places that actually keep anything that's actually useful for the system. But it will generally go through and it will delete all the good stuff and it will encrypt all the good stuff. So Locky has been around. Locky went after healthcare. It was seen in the Hollywood Medical Centre. And if you go after a small medical practice, you have a very high chance that they'll pay the ransom because they are dependent upon the IT infrastructure. And it's generally went round and attacked with a phishing email and with a document. So please don't click on documents that come in. I'm really disappointed with some of the spear phishing emails that are coming in just now. They're not really well crafted at all, but obviously somebody could know you and target something for you. So Locky, if you're interested, this is Locky running here. Nothing much, it's a bit boring. What happens, it just kind of chunters away in the background. You can't see anything, so this is Locky getting run here. Nothing really happens, nothing happens. But in the background, it's searching like anything. It goes through your whole disk and tries to find all your images and your documents, and then will actually encrypt them all. Okay, so it's actually doing that. Not much is happening there. But when we actually look inside our images, they're all gone. They're all gone. Okay, it's a .locky there. And then once it's finished, you get that. Anybody had that? No, no one to admit it. There, that's what you get. Okay, you got dull. Okay, your machine is toast. Okay, if you're very lucky, the police will have the encryption keys and somebody would have raided the criminal gang and you're very lucky to get the keys back, but you might not, and there's a very good chance that you actually won't. Okay, so that's what happens, and once you've got it, then you're in trouble. Cerber was another one that came out fairly recently, and quite an advanced piece of ransomware. Okay, so luckily, there's a whole lot of people on the internet that are now investigating it. And you now get this atom payload builder that will actually allow you to package the whole of the ransomware and the connection into the Bitcoin network. Okay, so that's a bit of a background behind the ransomware. So let's look at this guy. Okay, so I appreciate you're probably sick to the back teeth of this, but there's so many lessons that we can learn about this. So over the weekend, we've seen a whole lot of
Operations and appointments at around 40 trusts have been cancelled after a cyber attack struck the health service yesterday afternoon. We've been hearing some patients' experiences. This man who had major heart surgery cancelled.
I've been waiting for it for many months now. They only do it on a Friday morning, lunchtime, afternoon-ish. Yeah.
And you expected to have the operation today?
Yeah. I was all cannured up. I then I've been shaved down the front of the
can't say that, BBC. Don't say shaving. Okay, so that was the panic that we were under attack, that the whole NHS was falling apart, and it just seemed that the media just couldn't get enough and just really wanted the whole thing to be bigger and bigger and bigger. They thrive on these headlines. So this is what it was: pay the Bitcoin and you'll be okay. And you go, hello. We've been talking about this in the security community for about a month. Why didn't you patch? There's no excuse at all for an organisation like the NHS not to have seen that. Okay, it's in big bold letters, and it basically says, out of 10, Bruce Snyder did this, out of 10, it's 11. I don't know if you've seen the Spinal Tap video, bit like that. This is an 11. This is definitely a 10 to 11 out of 10. I know as a professor, 11 to 10 doesn't work, so we never give marks like 11 to 10. That shouldn't exam examiner would see through that one immediately. So this is what happened, and the industry should have known about it because it says 14th of March here. I don't know if you noticed, but this is May. Okay, that's March. That's quite a long time ago. They had no excuse. And it basically said it's really quite bad and it's critical. Okay, they should know that in healthcare, the word critical is something that you need to look after. This is kind of critical, and if they had flashing lights like they used to have, then it would have that. It would have alarms going off and things like that. No excuse at all for critical infrastructure not to be complying with that. And it was basically these guys. Well, I've missed off the other guys, but I won't mention them. So it was basically these guys. Don't tell anybody.
Please carry on.
It was somebody found something, and then somebody else found something, and somebody else dropped something somewhere. Eamon knows all about these things. But what happened was that all these vulnerabilities were dropped somewhere. Only one of them has been used up to now. I hate to worry you. There's a whole bag of other things that are lovely little rewards for this. But the top one was a 10 of blue, and it was to do with SMB2 and anything to do with XP. And it was all part of this fuzzy bundle framework. I hope I've got that right. I'll edit it in the thing. It was all part of the fuzzy bundle, we'll call it fuzzy bundle just now, framework that some people on the internet had been using to do some good things that some people would see, or maybe not so good things from there. And Eternal Blue was one of them, was part of this framework. So WannaCryptor, what became alive, and hopefully we'll be able to see it, what it's doing just now. I know there's a lot of analytics going on the internet just now, but this is kind of live. So hopefully there's no Edinburgh ones in here. Oh, we've got a few China ones, that's good, doing well. Through US, Germany, United Kingdom's not doing very well in there, but we'll get back in there. A lot in Russia, not so much just now. But these are the infections that are happening in real time from WannaCrypt. Quite a few in Australia. Hopefully they've heeded my advice over there for that. But that's the infections as they are just now on the internet. And VirusTotal have already analysed and have samples of the complete infrastructure. And it was so bad that Microsoft went back and go, oops, you know how we said that we didn't patch XP in Windows 2003? We've patched it. Okay, just in case you have a US submarine, just in case. Just in case you're using an ATM, just in case, or you're in an airport and there's airplanes flying, could you just patch them, please? And just in case you're running the NHS, could you just go ahead and patch? Because here's the update. Because they knew they would get it in the neck if they didn't. So they went ahead and they've actually patched it. So good on them. And if you're does anybody run XP here? Go on, you shall be cleansed. Come down the front if you run. How can all of us not run XP, but the NHS can be running? I just don't understand that. With all their budget, and we just get a little bit of money, and even we have Macs. So let's look at the elephant in the room. There isn't a Microsoft salesman in here, is there? Yeah, okay. Okay. We are so sad when we go around airports and so on. We take pictures of all the blue screens of death. Does anybody else do that? Is it just us? Good. Jamie Graves is a great one. Watch Jamie Graves. He goes around all the airports and gets all the screens, when they crash an airport. It's kind of worrying in an airport, which is kind of running safety critical software, that they're running XP somewhere. So we see it in ATMs. 90% of ATMs run XP last year. Sharp intake of breath there. Many made, I won't say where they're made, no. So we see, it's like that. So if you go to your ATM, you see that, then don't put your money in, I wouldn't think. And this is at an airport, okay, that's XP running at an airport, it's good to see. And and I love that one, because it's not even XP, it's Windows 95. Did anybody used to run 95? No, surely I'm not the only one. And anybody run Windows 3.1? Yeah, hallelujah, you shall be cleansed. And then it was Vista, I think. What wasn't that? Was it? Millennium? Yeah, 33.5 inch CDs. If you're lucky, there were 5-inch floppy disks, but that just shows you how long I've been in the industry. So I think that's a great one. Love that one. If you see any Windows 95 ones, then please give us a shout. That's at an airport, and I love that one. I just want to go there. If anybody invites me to a conference in that place, I just want to go there, and I want to play solitaire on an ATM. That is so much fun. Does it give you money at the end if you win? Like, where's the money? Where's the money? Show me the money. Or does it? You need to put money in to play the game? I don't know. That's just crazy. So one encryptor's been around, and I've got a whole lot. What I've used Shodan extensively, just to really show the impact of certain things. But I hate to worry you. There are 782,000 machines that are airing SMB to the internet. Hopefully they're all secure, but there are a whole lot of machines that are exposing their whole lot. Isn't that a bit worrying? Temporary disk space there. There we go. From there, we're seeing all disks and stuff like that in there too. So Shodan will actually show you that. I won't show you how many XP machines there are, but maybe I can show you how many the NHS have. I need to log in. Sorry about that. Hopefully you won't see this. Okay, good. There's only 2 NHS machines that are exposed on this magic port 445. So it's not too bad. It's certainly reduced a lot since I last looked. But there's a whole lot of XP machines. I don't know if you're interested. There are people in the world that put their XP machines on the internet. Here are some here. These are XP machines. Oh, this one is exposing its printer. If you want to print them a nice little message. Please don't write that IP address down, by the way. There's their shares and stuff like that. It's a basic lab. We teach our students how bad SMB actually is, and really you're asking for trouble to be able to. It's almost like the first rule in the security book is that don't enable SMB on for the external network. So there's a whole lot of machines that are vulnerable on the internet. Some of you see there, but this one computer, just let me get past this one. This computer, see that? This machine here, if you just get on this one. Oops. Oh, if you've seen there, we've actually got a whole lot of disk shares. And it was seen, the exploit was seen from the intrusion detection system logs very early on. So if you work in a bank, that's the kind of thing you would have probably seen within the bank when it actually hit. And you actually see that when you go, so this is one that had SMB awake. If you actually go and do a basic test, so every company should do this, at least test the ports that can be seen from outside. You can actually see that port 445 is open and ready to be connected to, so you're exposed to the internet. And but a whole lot of people have been running the application, and really to show you how sloppy some of the code is that the passwords were actually embedded into the code. So there was the PK is a zip file, so they found it as a zip file. You can call it whatever you want, it's still a zip file. And then they found in the code, oh, that was the password. They went in there and they could actually decrypt the whole of the file. So then it gives you this message. So that's the text file that's actually on it. So if we actually look at how it works, so I've tried to distill it down into the most simple way possible, because I think in the media they've explained bits and pieces, okay? And there's a guy on that created a sinkhole. You go, what's a sinkhole? And there's someone else that managed to stop it and so on. So this is how it works, okay? So you get it on your machine. So just say it's there. It's there as an exe. It then, crazily, because you've got to put in a kill switch. If you write a bit of malware, you go, oops, I've done something bad. It's infected the world, it's brought down the system. When I did my media training here, that was the question I got posed. The internet's been crippled. A student of yours has written a piece of malware and it's brought down the internet. What do you say about that? How do you cope with that? It's really difficult. So the malware writers put in a kill switch. They put the kill switch in so that it can disable it and stop it from working. They can't get onto the machine, so how are they going to do it? So, failing naively, they had two domain lookups, 1, 2. And what it did was it did a domain lookup on those two, and if it existed, it stopped itself. It killed itself. And you go, what? So this guy was just mucking about with this, and he went and registered those domains, and it stopped. You go, wow, all the resources of the whole world, of all these really great cyber security people, and this guy in his bedroom just registered the domain, and he stopped it. Probably this was the one thing that limited the damage across the world. He stopped the things from running. That's fantastic, I think. But version 2 has disabled that. Okay, so it's gone. Okay, it doesn't exist anymore. The latest distribution doesn't have the kill switch in there. Then what it does is if it's not successful, sorry, that should be not success. Oh, so if it's successful, it quits. Otherwise, it downloads Tor. Okay, gets it from Dropbox or from that link there. It then downloads Tor because it wants to hide itself completely from the world. It then goes and scans the network for 443, looking for XP machines and machines that aren't patched. So it seeks out the whole of the local network. And hopefully you've all got your network segmented, so you've limited the number of machines. But I bet in some networks in the NHS, you're connected to the whole of a big network infrastructure, and then it will go and seek. So it seeks that and tries to distribute itself. Then what it tries to do is it then connects to the Tor network or the dark web. So these are the addresses and these are the ports, and there's the onion addresses that you want. But what it tries to do is go, hello, how are we getting on? It does a dial back. Who knows what it's saying because it's all encrypted. But it says, how's the campaign going? And it contacts those addresses. So if you're interested, and if you really want to see what that looks like, there's the network traffic there. Okay, there's that connection there on 9,000.003 that it makes. This is a capture, network capture from the bot itself. If you're interested, you can run a little program called Snort. Unfortunate name there. But Snort, I don't know if I've got it here, but Snort allows you to be able to create little rules. And here they are here. These little simple rules here basically detect that. So this is what's called an intrusion detection system. It basically listens, and whenever anyone connects to the Tor network, then it can detect the actual traffic. So hopefully security engineers have been working on this and it'll all be fixed. Unfortunately, there's a bug in it. And the bug means that you're stuffed. Sorry, that's a crude way for a professor to say you're stuffed. It's not working. Okay, there's no magic key at the end. It just doesn't work. There's a problem with it. If you pay the money, then you're not going to end up with a whole lot. So did anybody pay it? No? Good. So let's see at the payments, okay? So the whole world is watching this. Oh, it's frontline entertainment. Just running updates. People are sending me Python scripts to keep me right up to the minute so I know how much money has been. I think it's $50,000 or so we're up to. That's a reasonable campaign. We're a bit disappointed. It's only 50,000. It's not 325 million. So we're all watching these 3 Bitcoin wallets just now, just waiting for somebody to take the money out. God, take the money. Take the money. If you take the money, then you're going to get a whole lot of amens on your doorstep. Take the money, take the money, take the money. And I bet you a lot of them are law enforcement. I may be wrong in this. I bet there's quite a few law enforcement people say, oh yeah, I've got ransomware. There's the payment. Just get back to me when you've got a few of them. Let's test it. So we're up to about 50k in there. So if you want to see it live, just to see how the campaign's going, just to see how it's getting on. Oh, we're up to 108. That's pretty good. I don't know if you're included here. Just say if you see yourself. Well, that was a good one there. If you see your pseudo ID in there. And somebody asked me, we're trying to put a Scottish angle on this. Do you know if any Scottish people have actually paid? And I go, no, I have no idea. I have no idea, honestly. Go on. Is there any Scottish people? I've done. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you do the calculations, probably there's at least one Scottish person in there. Oh, that's great. We'll talk to you then. So that's the coins. 0.18 is about $300, and if you're really unfortunate, you'll pay about 0.36, which is about $600, and so on. So that's the payments as they are just now. And if you look at the chart, I was really disappointed. I thought maybe there would have been lots of activity on these wallets just before, lots of Christmas presents and stuff like that happening, but nothing happened until the 12th of May, and then the money. So we're kind of rocketing off there, and we don't know where it's actually going to end up from there. So in terms of conclusions, to be techie for a little minute, education. That's a great thing from a professor, isn't it? Selling my own business. But education is so important, and you need to keep your users educated. Make backups, layer your protection, segment your network, and go for a whitelist rather than a blacklist. A whitelist is here's what's allowed, and nothing else is allowed after that. So more and more security needs to move towards that. And then finally, I still think the traditional one is the way that it'll move forward. And WannaCryptor is kind of old. It's a worm. It's downloading the full payload and so on. So I think we've been lucky with the way it's worked, but we probably won't be as lucky again. Okay, and thanks very much. That's been a quick overview of ransomware.